After sweeping the season series against the Chicago Fire, Inter Miami has now won 8 of the last 9 in MLS play. We dive into it all for the first place team here on the Inter Miami Weekly Show. Back at it again at Chase Stadium with the Arsenal great Kieran Gibbs. I'm Joe Malfa. We might have some company behind us with some lightning on this stormy September South Florida day. And as we are in September now, Kieran, our first show in September, it's Inter Miami once again atop the Eastern Conference and atop all of MLS.
Yes, and another magnificent performance, Joe, from start to finish. Listen, we know Chicago are a struggling side, but I don't think that there's many teams in the MLS that can cope with them at the moment when they're performing like this. I think that tactically they were most superior to Chicago, and I think Tata got his selection spot on. I think we weren't used to seeing them play with a back three, especially when the other teams don't play that formation. He normally just matches up, but it was interesting to see him do that, and I thought that they got that spot on. The selection of Ian Frey, Martinez and Busquets, I really like that just from a balance perspective at the back. I think it gave them a really solid foundation. They were able to build out attacks from the back brilliantly because they're all so good on the ball, and I think especially with Ian Frey with that balance on the right hand side, it allowed for Weigand to push up and also Jordi Alba because they're very athletic, Martinez and Frey. So I think that's a really interesting look for them, and the team performance overall would have given Tata a lot of confidence to at least be able to consider that formation during later on in the season. You never know when you're going to need that, so I think that was an excellent call from him. He's able to flirt around with different formations now because he's got that cushion of the playoffs, so he's able to tinker around and have different ideas of how he wants to play just in case he needs it. But that will definitely give him and the team some confidence.
No, for sure. We'll come back to some of that flexibility and the tinkering once we get to the back half. But first, we got to take a look at the highlights because we've got plenty of goals to show you. That's becoming a weekly theme for us as well. It feels like every week we've got 3-4 Inter Miami goals to show you. It was another situation like early in the year at Kansas City, at New England, in an NFL stadium, over 50,000 on attendance, and you get to see Inter Miami just doing Inter Miami things. The own goal happened early, and then it was off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, this opening goal, the sequence of play from the beginning, it was from the training ground. The pattern of play to play out from Ian Frey stepping out and breaking that first line really just opened up the space, and their passing and movement was just so clinical.
That would be the only goal of the first half, but this was a sign that it was the own goal created from Suarez and then this set piece off the crossbar, that there would be plenty of goals in this one. And it was quick in the second half with Suarez getting it going in the 46.
Yeah, you just can't give them an inch. You give Miami an inch at the moment and they're going to take a mile. They capitalize on every loose ball from Chicago. They are just so deadly. They're the deadliest team in their league at the moment. Suarez, yet again, just proving, what an unbelievable striker he's been.
And how about this one? Busquets to Alba to Suarez. How many times have we seen that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, rolling back the years yet again. It looks just iconic to even see it. We've seen it over the years many times, but again, Suarez always on the move in the box. He's just so hard to keep an eye on.
And there was a relentlessness, too. Once it was 3-0, they were looking for more. You remember the crossbar early, the post here. This is one of those that, to be fair, could have been 5 or 6-0. They would give one back, though, here on the Koutsias goal for Chicago.
Yeah, and I think they're just a little lapse in concentration, which they'll want to keep their eye on. But apart from that, it was still a really dominant display from Miami.
And then to finish it off with this, we talk always about the stars and Suarez and Alba and Busquets combining on the last one. This one, it's Campana, Ruiz, and Taylor, those sort of forgotten guys in the middle of the roster who were so impactful last year and are going to be very impactful down the stretch, as we'll get to talk about, because it is a crazy stretch coming up for Inter Miami to end the season, but it finishes with a 4-1 victory. Tata Martino not showing it. He's always stone-faced coming off the field, but he's happy on the inside. And it's the first week of September. We have probably been saying this since the first week of June, Kieran. There's nothing to complain about right now. There's nothing if you're a supporter to complain about right now. You can maybe look for little things like giving up that goal where it could have been 4-0. Instead, it's 4-1. All right, you could maybe want to have had a clean sheet, but it's 3 points. It's a 3-goal win. You're sitting in first place with a very comfortable cushion there's really nothing to complain about right now.
No, listen, they're a joy to watch. They're a joy to watch. They're a joy to talk about. I think that you have to give Tata just so much credit for just his constant team selection and his ability to get the best out of this team, even with the big players missing a lot of the time. I think that we haven't given him enough credit recently. I think the team performances have been great, but it all comes down to his selection, his formation choices. They just looked like they outwitted Chicago the other night. The way they played out from the back, they always used the spare man. They created overloads in the middle of the park, and then they were really effective out wide as well. So I just think that they have to keep this form going. It's you don't want to say it's come too early and they're going to fade out at some point, but they've got a busy stretch coming up now with a lot of games, like we said, and it's important to use all of the nous and the knowledge as a squad together that they've gathered over the season. All of those micro decisions that Tata would have made in terms of resting players when he needed to get the most out of the team, the most optimal performances over the next few weeks and getting ready for those playoffs. Like we said, psychologically, for them to go and finish the season really strong, it for me will help them massively going into the finals and the playoffs. So I'm really hoping that they keep this form up.
No doubt. And right now, injury-wise, of course, Messi's still working his way back. He's been on the practice field. That return seems to be looming. No official word. And you've got Matias Rojas, who has an ankle. Again, no official timetable, but looks like it could be a couple of weeks coming down the stretch. You just want to make sure everybody's right. And then one more note, CJ Dos Santos, backup goalkeeper, a broken bone in his hand. He could miss some time, but again, it's just you hope Drake is still obviously good to go in goal, but Dos Santos no longer backing him up for the time being. And Kieran, as we look at this stretch coming up, since there is no game to preview this week with the international break, it's not a full international break for MLS. There are still a handful of games going on. One to watch is actually Columbus hosting Seattle, so everybody watching this, Inter Miami supporter, also be a Seattle Sounders supporter this weekend, of course, but it is a technical international break. Inter Miami on that break this week. After that stretch, it is 6 matches in 21 days before another international break in October and then the season finale. So 7 games remaining, but 6 of those 7 come in a 21-day stretch for Inter Miami. You talked about the rotation of the roster that we've seen throughout the year from Tata Martino. You talked about playing 3 at the back and being able to tinker. They have a cushion. They still want to obviously win the Supporters' Shield, to put a piece of hardware in the cabinet to make sure that the path to MLS Cup runs through Chase Stadium behind us. But what do you see down the stretch here? How do you balance, okay, maybe I try a 3-back. Maybe I go back to a 4. Maybe I use Gramaski and Ruiz and Gomez in the midfield this game, and maybe this game I push. There's a lot that he can do here. There's a lot of options, a very deep roster. How do you strike that balance between tinkering, making sure guys are fresh for the playoffs, but also making sure you keep your momentum the whole way?
Yeah, he has a deep squad and he has a very versatile squad. I think that, a lot of his players can play in many different positions. I think that that's what's worked to their advantage this season so much. And they've been able to build around the likes of Messi, Suarez, because of those versatile players. So I hope to see more of him, fiddling around with different formations just to see if there's anything that he's missing. He has the ability to do that. I think that the boys are confident enough and they back him to go and see if there's any other solutions and bright spots in the team that he may have missed. But I think the most important thing, like you say, is the short-term goal is to finish the top of the Eastern Conference. I think that would solidify their team camaraderie and make sure that they go into the playoffs in the best shape, mentally as possible. So I'm excited to see how he approaches this next block of games in the short space of time. But if it goes, if it has anything to go by, the last few months of the season has proved that he has the ability to get this squad through these patch of games with the injuries coming back as well, which will be a massive help for Miami.
And let this be our official pitch for the voters and the people, the powers that be, for Tata Martino for Manager of the Year in MLS. Because look, right, wrong, or indifferent, people who are voting in that process might say, oh, it's a strike against him that he has all these stars, whereas a Chris Armas with the Colorado Rapids doesn't have this roster to play with, and they're sitting in the top 4 spots right now in the West. So I think some of the voters that they might use that to say, oh, well, it'd be nice. Anybody can manage a team with with Messi and Suarez. But if you look at it holistically, to your point, there's been a lot to deal with this year between international breaks. The basically starting 11 that was lost during the Copa America stretch to Copa and to injuries during that time, navigating the really early season injuries. I always recall that just drubbing on the road in the pouring rain against the Red Bulls, and everybody was like, what's going on with this team? Can they actually figure it out? Well, Tata did, and Tata deserves more credit than I think anybody's giving him. Yeah,
absolutely. It's not to say that just because you have, you know, all of these great players that the team's going to go and perform. That is that's very naive to think that way. He deserves an incredible amount of credit. I think that his team selection has been the most impressive thing for me, and the balance of his teams. You know, the other night I was surprised when he went with a back three, but then after the game you realise, especially with the performance, that, you know, he wants to see his team performing in different formations, and that they're all learning much more from the game. It's incredible to think the amount that the players have learned under him in such a short space of time. For me, he has to go as the manager of the season so far, because his team has performed the best. It's not just that they've gotten the results. They actually look like, for me, the best team in the league, and so that's why he deserves it.
And we've talked about like the corrections as well, where early in the year they were giving up goals first 10 minutes of matches, right? And there were these little things that would pop up, and that's an issue that needs correcting. A month later, it's the opposite. Now it's Inter Miami scoring first 10 minutes of every game, and anything that has popped up where there's been a little bit of a struggle, leaking goals at times early in the year, that stopped. Those turned into clean sheets. So everything that has been an issue, exactly, that's where I was going next. Everything that at one point was an issue or a weak point turned into a strength, and obviously that's player execution as well, but that's coaching. If you're not on top of that, those issues that are issues will fester the whole season long.
Yeah, I think set pieces is such a key thing to mention there. I mean, how many times did we say that, you know, towards the beginning of the season, and their performance in early parts of the games where they were leaking goals has stopped dramatically. They start games, you know, so well now, and it just comes from experience of playing through, and their understanding of each other now is that of a top team. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, two more things for us to touch on before we wrap it up here this week, and they both involve two of the biggest stars, obviously, that have come in with Suarez and Busquets. I'll start with Suarez. 16 goals now on the season. That is in the Inter Miami history books, and it's only going to continue to grow. It's already tied Gonzalo Higuain's single-season high of 16 back in 2022, so he's already written his name in the record books. And this week was an emotional week for Luis Suarez. He officially announced his retirement from Uruguay, so this is it for him now. This is Inter Miami, a run in here. He intends to play beyond this season, of course, but you'd like to send him out with as many wins as possible in his historic career, so maybe lift the cup this season, maybe lift the cup next season. Let's get crazy. Let's win them all. But he set that mark already at 16. He's going to continue on. How great has he been this year? I mean, it's fun to watch. At home, you see the goals, but there's so many of the little things, too, how he's helped the people around him. He's just been terrific all season long.
We've spoken about him all season, and, you know, I think for me, the last couple of games, his link-up play to help the team, you know, just get out of a little sticky patch in a game has just been so amazing to see. We know physically he can't move like he used to, but his decision-making and his speed of thought and his first 5-10 yard movements are still that of the Luis Suarez that we've seen over the last 15 years. And that's why he's still managing to not only survive at this level, but he's thriving. He really is thriving. He's one of the most dangerous players in the league this season, and it comes from, for me, it comes down to his mentality, you know, like how he, you know, continues to strive to be the best, to help his team, to support his team, not only by scoring goals, but being effective, helping your team, you know, get out from the back, being that target man up top, bringing other players into play. Some of his one-touch play is just still world class, and he continues to prove to be a world-class striker. Obviously, thankfully, he's still playing for Miami. Obviously, he's not playing for Uruguay anymore, but really, really impressive to see how he's performed this season.
And now Busquets to finish things up. Obviously, starts the year and has been his whole career for the most part in that same role in the midfield. Now he's dropped to the back line for Tata Martino, and we've seen this transition for a player like that at this stage of the career where maybe he can't cover as much ground, but he still sees everything, still distributes, still can organize everything. The tinkering that we talked about this week with Martinez and with Frey, two very athletic players, especially Ian, that sort of looks good. I don't want to jump the gun here because it's something that we just seen now. It's a new combo, but that seems like it's something that could stick because you're combining the athleticism and the youth of those two players to cover the ground that maybe Busquets can't, but then you got the brain of Busquets and his ability to distribute at the back. I'm not saying this is going to be the lineup going forward, but it's certainly an option, and the way that he anchors it in the middle of that, now on the back line, it's added a new dynamic to the group.
It has added a new dynamic for me, and I think it almost opens up a spare man because Ian is so athletic that he can almost cover two positions. He can play as a right back and when they have the ball, and he can also tuck in, and Weigand can drop in as a 5 when, if they're having a difficult spell. I think that's why they just look so solid. And when you have Busquets there, that composure and that experience to play out from the back and select the right pass, that decision making to break the first line, that's going to open up the spare man in midfield, and then that's when you get players turned and feed in Suarez and players like that. So I think that it's a very healthy balance, and I'm sure he's going to be looking at that as an option for later on this season because they looked very healthy. They looked very healthy the other night.
We've got the calm before the storm now. We've got the international break this week, not for the whole league. A few games still going, including Columbus against Seattle. So root for Seattle this week as we continue the push for the Supporters Shield. But Inter Miami's back at it on September 14th here at Chase Stadium against Philadelphia Union. Already beat them this year on the road in Philly. We'll dive into that one a bit more next week. So make sure you're here liking and subscribing on YouTube for the Inter Miami Weekly Show.